Okay. Let's go back to last week's parasha, right? We want to understand three key people. We want to understand Yitzhak, Isaac, Jacob. No, we want to understand Isaac, Jacob, and Rivka, right? We want to understand those three people. In order to get a pretty good sense of them, we look at this situation when Yaakov came and took the blessings of his brother, so to speak. So to speak. Gail is on. Hi, Annie. Gail. Okay, great. Okay, let's go to the beginning here. Vayhi, bottom of page 132, 133. Okay. And it came to pass. Actually, for the English, go to page 135. He's a Ken Yitzhak v'tikhenna einav nira'ot. So Yitzhak becomes older. I'm on the top page 135 now. And his eyes dimmed. So it appears there were two separate things that were happening here. And when we say enayin, eyes, really, we're not necessarily referencing his physical sight, but we're referencing an overall ability to comprehend. So when you speak about takhenna, it could have been batikhnashna, that they became weaker. But kehe means to be opaque. So his eyes became more opaque. In other words, his ability to see, and it might not be physical sight, it might be intellectual sight, was made more opaque. All right, when something is clear, it's translucent, you see right through it. When it's opaque, it seems a little bit clouded. Vayikra et Esav beno hagadol, and he calls Esav his big son. Vayomer elav b'ni, vayomer elav hineni. Calls out to him, and Esav steps right up, and Esav has the sense that something important is happening, and therefore he says, Hineni. Hineni means, I'm ready to step beyond and do whatever is necessary for me. And he says, Hineni zakanti, lo yadati yom moti. How are you, Jem? Zakanti lo yadati yom moti. Hey, grab a book. Thank you. We're on page 135. He became Zaken, and he doesn't know his day of death. What's the point of both of those references? Yitzhak says, I became Zaken, I became Zaken. I don't want to translate it. Yeah.
I feel like his neshama is talking to him.
Yitzhak's neshama, right?
Yeah.
And what do you think? And what do you think of the focus of that?
The neshama knows everything.
Right.
What's going to happen. So it's like he's in the present world, but it's also
good. So there's something here, right? Something here like in that respect. Very nice. Okay, good. So let's see. Lo yadati yom moti. Moti, lamut. What does mabit mean when we use it in a context like this? So in order to understand that, what does hayim mean?
life.
Hayim is life. What type of life, Shelley?
Knowledge.
What type?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. What else is hayim?
It's a living life.
Many lives.
What time?
Many lives.
Many lives, exactly. Hayim is many lives. Hayim is life in this world, the next world, and everything that follows. Very good. So Yom Moti would be what? It might be the opposite of that. Yom Moti might actually be the opposite of that. It might be that Yitzhak is sensing something foreboding. Hey, Amy, how you been?
Hello. I'm
All
gonna put
right.
myself on mute.
How are those beautiful little boys doing?
Oh, they're delicious. They're delicious.
Give them
Thank you for
very long
asking.
hugs. Very long hugs for me.
You got it.
Okay. So Yom Moti, Amy, we're in the 27th chapter of Bereshit 27, the very beginning. So Yitzhak says, I don't know my day of death. Now, if we're going, Jem, by your point that it's many lives, it's the ongoing process. So what is
Not
Yitzhak?
only in this world, all transmigrations.
Good, excellent. So what is he referencing here when he says, I don't know the day of death? He's not talking about the physical. What is he talking about?
Whether he's
When he's
going
not
to
gonna
be
be able to see
remembered or
him.
not remembered.
Exactly. Excellent. He's talking about his legacy, talking about where it all goes, right? I don't know that, i.e., I don't have a clear sense of where things are going for me right now. Okay, very good. Vatan sana kalecha kadiecha kashtecha kashtecha. Seda. Unfortunately, I'm not supposed to go there. He tells him, go out, get your stuff together, and do some hunting for me. And make me something special to eat, the stuff that I like. So that, hi, how are you? So come, get a chumash. Huh?
What are you studying?
We're studying Chumash Parasha.
Do you have an extra look for me?
Of course.
Hi. Sorry to interrupt.
And you're not interrupting at all. Come sit.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
come sit. Okay. So he tells him, prepare for me, and you will make me happy, and I will bless you before I die. Good? Okay. Rivka overhears it, right? Rivka overhears it, and what's her reaction? Rivka shoma'at, we're in the 5th verse. B'daber Yitzchak el Esav beno. B'daber, what does it mean to be daber?
Have a dialogue.
And to have a dialogue. And Sarah, when we use the term daber, what does the term daber mean as opposed to amar? Daber means
Ahmad, just as you're saying it, that's what it is.
excellent, straight and direct. Amar is straight and direct, right? Daber is there was more that went on. There's more that was said. Not everything that was said was captured in the text. So Rivka, when it says that Rivka heard the diburim, what does that mean? Hi, how are you? Great, good to see you. Hey, grab a chumash. Right here, right here. There's one here if you want. When it says that she heard the diburim, what does that mean? What does it mean?
She heard the dialogue that was going on between
Right.
her husband and Esau.
But when we use the word dibur, what does it tell us?
That you're allowed to answer back.
And more than that, the dibur,
All the conversation.
all the
It's not just
conversation,
Them two.
not
It's
just
the
the words that
generations.
were directly said. She's getting a sense of everything that was implied, everything that was suggested. So what Rivka is doing here, when she hears about this back and forth between her husband and Esav, right? What is she doing? She's listening to the messages and the meta messages, right? She's getting a sense of everything that was intended and everything that was implied. Beno. 1 second, before we get to that, what does the term lishmoa mean?
Here.
What does the term lishmoa mean? No. Come on, what does the term lishmoa mean?
Guard.
To understand. The shmor is to guard. The shmoa is to understand. Celeste, you with us? We're on page 135. Great. Okay, good. 134, 135. When she's shoma'at, the dibur, what does that mean? She understands everything that was said and all the implications of what was said, right? She's not listening to a basic conversation and walking away with a surface understanding, right? She understands all the backstory, okay? Rivka understands all the backstory. Now, a couple of important caveats here. We know that Rivka's level of prophecy was higher than that of Yitzchak, as Sarah's was higher than that of Abraham Abinu, right? When she had the babies struggling inside of her, she seeks out the understanding through her nivuah her prophecy inspired at the Bet Midrash of her great grandpas, Shem and Eved, right? That's where she goes. And we hold that her level of understanding of the issues between Yaakov and Esav may have been on an even more clear level than Yitzchak's understanding. So when the Torah says she heard, i.e., she understood, She understood everything, right? So she understands, and she understands everything. Meaning what? She understands the story this wide and the story this wide. Good? Okay, let's see. What does she do? She tells her son to go ahead and do the same thing, right? But she's going to make it easier for him. She's going to tell him, don't go out into the field and try to hunt something. Go right into the corral, grab one of the sheep, slaughter it, and bring it to dad, right? Go to verse 8. Bata shemi, bata beni, shema bekoli. Now, my son, listen to my call. What is a call?
Voice.
Voice. What is, when we say the term call, what does call mean? Call, the sound, the call of the shofar. What does call mean? The call is the absolute raw sound, right? Call is not my words. Call is much higher than my words. Call is that raw sound that penetrates deep inside a person. That's a call. So when Rivka tells Yaakov, listen to my call, she's not saying just pay attention to the directive I'm giving you. She says, just grab a chumash. Okay, she says, I want you to hear what I'm saying in the deepest sense, which, by the way, Yaakov can't possibly understand. But she tells him, I want you to hear my call. I want you to hear the most raw, ripping thing of what I really mean that I'm saying here. Now, can he? Not really. Can she? Absolutely. Does she understand what's going on? Absolutely. Does Yaakov understand it yet? Not yet.
But it's a mother's intuition.
We say he was a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's see. Okay, good. Go to the animals.
The
Yeah.
mother's intuition. The mother knows, they seem to know, a father knows their children also, but a mother has that.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the mother's intuition, tie a mother's intuition with Rivka. Let's pause a minute and talk about Rivka. Who was Rivka? Who was she? And just in the pecking order of things, who is Rivka? Talked about this over Shabbat in the shul over there. Rivka is the dupanim of Abraham Avinu. She's the soul twin of Abraham Avinu, right? Rivka and Abraham Avinu were absolutely integrally connected. Maybe they were one neshama that split into two. Maybe they were one neshama that split into more than two. But when we look at Rivka, we have to look at Abraham, and we have to absolutely understand that they're effectively one. Okay? Very, very important. Now, let's just talk about that for a minute. When Abraham, right, what did Abraham figure out in terms of life and the world and God? What did he figure out? Beautiful. He figured out step one is what?
One God.
Everything is interconnected. Step one. Everything that is, that ever was, that will be, that we can see, that we will never see, that's in universe, this galaxy, beyond, in the physical world, in the spiritual world, in the upper spiritual world, all that is absolutely connected. It's not fragmented, right? Step one. Step two, if it's absolutely connected, then there has to be one God, one creator, one maker. If it was fragmented, and we talked about this in the past, you would say, there's a God of this, a God of that, and a God of that. So Abraham first figures out that everything is connected, right? Then, step up, he figures out that if everything is connected, there can only be one connector. There can only be one creator. There can only be one God, right? And hence he understands that there is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? God. Now, the drop down to that is that if everything is connected, well, I have to be nice to everybody. And that's what we call chesed. So chesed on an eternal level is everything connected with God above it. Chesed on a local level, how we interact with on a day-to-day basis, means that if everything is absolutely connected under one God, it means I have responsibility and a sensitivity to everything. Good? Now, jump ahead to the Vka, right? We said du panim, right? Like twin, eternal twins, let's call them, right? When Eliezer, the freed slave of Abraham, goes to look for a wife for Yitzchak, right? When he goes to the house of Betuel to look for a wife for Yitzchak, right? What does he do? He turns to Kadosh Baruch Hu and he says a very curious thing. I got to find the right girl. I can't disappoint Abraham, right? I got to find the right girl. So if somebody sees me by the well and says, I will bring water for you and all your camels, that's our gal. What are you talking about? Why wouldn't you say somebody walks out with a chumash or somebody, right? Or somebody that says, shows exemplary honoring of the parents. What is he doing? So now talk to me. If she and Abraham are twin souls, what's happening here? Beautiful. She's got the chesed down here. If she's got the chesed down here, to the extent that she says, I'll take care of you and everything attached to you, that's the tip-off to Eliezer that she understands that everything is connected and that she understands that there's one God. So it's a fantastic and earth-shattering demand that he makes. And she fulfills it, and it looks so trivial. It's the opposite extreme. You with me?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like,
How is everything connected? So it goes like this. Very good.
then Hashem is above it. How are we all connected?
So,
We feel
So-
disconnected.
right. So everything in creation has a relationship to every one of us. The ant, the electron, the planet, the angel, the nivdal, the other heavenly force, the shedim. The alternative is to say that, you know what, everything that swims underwater has its own domain and its own God. That's the alternative. Our belief is, our knowledge, not belief, is that if it swims under the water, or it walks in Manhattan, or it flies in the sky with no body, it's all created by one person, and we have a relationship to it. So if it's the Western perspective of a tree falling in the forest, right? There's a philosophical back and forth in Western thought. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, and nobody is there,
Still make a sound.
huh?
Does it still make a
Does it
sound?
still make sound? What do we hold?
Yes.
We hold it does. We hold it does make a sound. Why?
Well, because the sound of the tree itself, whatever life force is there, is a force itself, and we're connected to that.
Fantastic. That's exactly the point. Because if you held otherwise, if a tree fell in the forest and nobody lived there, nobody lived within 1,000 miles of there, you'd say, oh, what do you want? It's a one-off event. It's on an island of its own. Things like one-off or on an island are antithetical to Judaism. We don't hold by any of those. We hold if a person is in pain over here, I'm going to be impacted on some level. We hold if a person is celebrating over there, I'm going to be impacted on some level, right? It's
proven by quantum physics.
I'm sorry,
Quantum physics basically proves that.
is that right?
Yeah.
So explain that. How does that work?
Basically, if you take two particles and you split them, when one behaves a certain way, the other one is going to respond to it, even if they are literally separated and thousands of miles apart.
Love it. Awesome. That's great.
How about that? It's exactly what you're saying.
Very nice. There you go.
So why do we feel so disconnected?
It's a
Because
feeling.
We gotta work
on
it.
you got to work on it. But don't you see? That's why we care about other people. That's why we need to care about other people. That's why we're talking about the halachot of Maaser and Tzedakah and Matanot Evyonim. That's why we talk about all these things in depth, in exacting detail. You know why? Because I'm zakuk, I'm connected. I'm not independent. There's nobody independent in this world. No such thing. That's the point. Okay? When one celebrates, it's celebrative. When one is in pain, it's the opposite. And that's it. But to your point, why we feel disconnected, I don't know. But we should do everything we can to move away from that. Yeah.
For Eliezer, who
Mhm.
was a servant, he was really the hero. He was the one who connected it. He was the one who spoke to him.
He got it.
So
He
that's
totally got it.
amazing. So it wasn't
He
only
was
just somebody who was in a high
Abraham's
rank.
student, his master student,
Right.
and he totally got it. Okay, he totally
He
got it.
it. So he really connected the dots.
He
like
connected
you're
the
saying.
dot, but it's not. But when we see these stories, right? Some of us talk. When you see the stories of Bereshit, you never look at them on the local level ever. Remember, Hakadosh Baruch Hu chose every word. If he chose this word or this story, it can't be that she watered the camels. I mean, give me a break, right? We have to be talking about something many thousands of levels above that, right? So that's what we're talking about. So have in mind, yeah.
This was Abraham's first dealings with Hashem when he said Lech Lecha?
No,
Oh, he
No.
spoke to him much before.
Way
that.
before.
I'm missing about Hashem.
very good. Way before, way
Way
before.
before.
Lech Lecha is already, he's already
Tell him to
there.
leave.
He's
But
already there.
When he spoke to him, when did he speak to him originally?
So it's really a big question, and you have to go back to the generations that are slated between Noah and Abraham, right? It's 1,000 years, it's 10 generations. You have to look at those generations and how one begets the other, because Abraham Avinu didn't discover HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He championed HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He was discovered before that, hundreds of years before that, right? Noah's children. We have other people that followed who were giants of what connecting to Hashem meant then, before the practical giving of Torah. So what you have to, in order to understand Abraham better, because what we see is Abraham sort of appears on the scene.
Yeah.
In Lech Lecha, right? At the end of Noah, really. At the end of Noah, he sort of appears on the scene. But by the end of Noah, he's been taught, and there's been hundreds of years of back and forth on HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
But Terach was his father, so he went through all the idolatry.
He did. That's right,
So
as did
how
most
did
people.
he come up with that? Did
Huh?
he have a vision? Did Hashem speak?
I would say he was taught and he figured it out. Both. He was taught and he figured it out. And he kept figuring it out. Right? Wasn't over yet. And they're still figuring it
Yeah,
out.
I'm saying he grew as it went along.
Yes, great. That's right. Now, she tells Yaakov, go. Tells him, listen to my call. Right? That raw, piercing sound. Go to verse 9. Lechna son, take what you're going to take. Go to verse 10. Veveta le'avicha v'achal ba'avur asher yibarechecha lefnei moto. Veheveta, bo. Serene, remember? Bo. What do we do with bo? Veheveta. On a physical level, it means to bring, right? What does it mean on a spiritual level? Whenever you see the word bo, spiritual uplift. Beautiful. Veheveta el la'avicha. We're going to step up spiritually with this. Whenever you see the term bo, whenever you see the term nahavi, ba'u, it means there's a spiritual ascension that's happening here. Good? So something's going to happen. Now, the man ba'avur asher yibarechecha lifnei moto. What beracha is Yitzchak offering at this point? What beracha is he offering?
Abraham, no?
Huh?
The Beracha of Abraham.
Fantastic. That's what's your first name?
Mazal.
Mazal. Great. Is he offering the beracha of Abraham? What was the beracha of Abraham?
That all the goyim would be blessed through him.
Right.
Whatever Hashem blessed him, it's going to go directly to the next descendant.
Excellent. So what is the beracha of Abraham? The beracha of Abraham is that he'll multiply to a point where you can't even count his
Like the
offering.
stars in the sky.
Ke'afar adama, right? And the stars in the heavens. Excellent, right? That there will be a profound influence of his children, disproportionate influence in the world, right? We're this big, we have this much influence,
I was gonna
right?
say we're not-
That we will be eternal, right? That will be eternal. And now we have an absolute claim to the land of Israel, God's land. Now, that was a beracha to Abraham, right? Who gave Abraham that beracha?
Hashem, but-
Excellent, good. And who gave it to Yitzchak? Think, don't jump. Who gave it to Yitzchak?
Hashem.
Very good.
Oh, wow.
Who gave the beracha to Yitzchak? We're going to look at it in a few minutes. So Hashem gave the beracha to Abraham, the beracha, capital THE, to Abraham, right? He gave it to him, right? Good. You would say that if you gave it to Abraham, then Celeste, Abraham should give it to his son, right? Because what we saw, we learned it together, the splitting of the animals. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Abraham, don't worry, your kids will merit it in your zchut, and they'll also have enough of their own. But you would think at that point that Abraham owns the beracha, he should hand it down. Does he? No. Who holds the keys to that beracha, Serene? Hashem does, right? So Hashem gives it to Abraham, Hashem gives it to Yitzchak. I'm going to show you, I'll show you right now. In fact, let's turn to it right now. Go to 26:2. Chapter 26, verse 2. Right. Okay, he said there's a Rav in the land, Serene, you want to read? Vayad elav Hashem.
128.
128, right? Shechon ba'aretz Hashem wa elecha. What does that mean? Stay here. Good. Keep going. Beautiful. What is he saying? Stick around. Don't leave. Right? Why? I'm going to give you that beracha. I'm giving it to you, right? Keep going. Betty. Beautiful. What? Does this sound familiar?
Mhm.
It's the same beracha. It's the same
So
beracha.
Rivka was really just the conduit.
Huh?
Rivka was just the
Oh, no,
conduit.
don't go there yet. Don't go there yet. Excellent. Hold that for a few moments. Hold that.
Jumping to
So, who is giving this beracha? Who holds the keys to it? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Is this beracha copy paste, the one that Abraham got? Just about copy paste. Good. Ekev, and now look at the caveat. Ekev asher shama Abraham b'koli v'yishma mishmati mitzvotai chukotai v'torotai. What are we saying? Remember what Abraham Avinu asks of God? Abraham tells him, well, what if my kids are not like me? And what does God tell him? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They'll be close enough. And even if they're not, your zechut paves the way forever. And what does Abraham say?
Not sure.
He considers it tzedakah, which means what?
Greater than even chesed in a way.
It's greater than even chesed. Why?
It's
Because he deserved it. Because he did deserve it. Tzedakah is righteousness. Abraham recognized, you know what, God? Thank you. This ain't charity. I earned it. So thank you for saying it. We have a deal here. When it says v'yachashvel tzedakah, it doesn't mean Abraham was a miskin and said, oh, how nice, God's throwing me a bone forever with my kids. He says, thanks, God. You're right. I earned it. That's the right thing to do by giving it to my children, no matter what. No matter if they stray, right? It's the right thing to do. So now, what did we establish? Yeah? Okay, perfect. Very good. Perfect. So let's go step by step.
Should you repeat that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So why does Yitzchak feel inclined to give the beracha if he knows that Hashem's supposed to do it?
Excellent. So now we go back to the
The
question,
question is,
right?
what beracha did you really want to do?
Excellent. Excellent. So now, if God holds the keys to the THE beracha, right? Big one, right? What beracha we're talking about here?
Mhm.
We ain't talking about that one. because that one can't be given by daddy to my favorite son. Right? Right, good. So we're talking about a different beracha. Again, when we say that Yaakov took the beracha, what beracha did he take? Right? Let's look at the beracha. Go back to where we were. Go back to where we were. 138, done. Okay. Let's see what he says. Okay, go to, right, excellent. Go to verse 28. Kafet. Vayten lecha Elohim mital hashamayim. Huh?
Under the kufa, we say.
Yeah, right. Umishmanei haaretz v'rov gadan tirosh. That's right. Yavducha amim yishtachavu lecha leomim havei gvir le'achecha yishtachavu lecha b'nei imecha. Psukim 28 and 29. Those who you are against will be down, and those who you support will be up. What beracha is Yaakov taking at the behest of mommy? What beracha is he taking?
It's the fat of the land.
Fat of the land, excellent.
I guess it's a material. It's the material aspect of the blessing, not just the spiritual one.
Not the spiritual.
It's the
The
material.
spiritual we got from God, right? The material blessing is what? That you will have prowess and power in the practical world. Now, that blessing was supposed to go to who?
Yeah.
To Esav, right? Rivka says, it's going to my little one, right? So what was Yitzhak thinking by wanting to give it to the older brother? And what was Rivka thinking by moving it to go to the younger brother?
I think that Yitzhak was thinking Yaakov is going to get the spiritual element of the blessing. So let his twin get the physical, and this way somehow they'll balance the world.
Take care of each other.
But Rivka, she was worried that if you don't have a spiritual, I would say, direction with what you do with the physical, then the world will come to destruction.
Excellent. I'm just going to tweak what you said a little bit.
Okay.
So Yitzhak figures like this. Esav is already very successful in the practical world, right? If I give him another shot, if I give him my beracha on that, he'll be that much more successful. And over time, he'll become more and more benevolent, and he'll help his brother who really wants to be sitting learning Torah, right? What does Rivka understand? Remember, she had the greater prophetic capacity. She understands that that's not what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us with the Torah here to engage the world here and to struggle with Torah on a practical day-to-day basis. She understands that if all of this is reserved for Esav, and Yaakov can't manage his way in the world, the Torah will never manifest. The Jewish people will never have a profound impact on the world. Therefore, she says, this secondary beracha that is directed to practical success, right, has to go to the more spiritual son, so that the Jewish people, as God imagined us, could take shape. Remember, Yaakov is our daddy, not Abraham or Yitzhak. We call ourselves Bnei Israel, Bnei Yaakov, right? He's our daddy. They're our forefathers, but when we reference ourselves, we don't reference them. Why? Because he is the one that beget us. Now, what does that mean? When he gets this beracha, right? When he gets this beracha now, what does Rivka then do? What does Rivka do after he gets this beracha?
Sends him away.
She tells him to go away. Go where?
Kill him,
Huh?
because he's gonna kill him where he wants it, no?
Go to Lavan, my brother.
Goes to work, it's physical work.
If she was really afraid that her son was going to get killed, send him to a cave in the Judean hills, right? Or in the south where they were, right? More south, Bethlehem area, a little bit more south, right? Send him to a cave and hide him there. Put bodyguards in front of the cave and leave him there. 1 second. I'm worried about him, so I'm going to send him to my brother, who's the biggest no goodnik I know. I'm going to send him there. That's how I'm going to take care of this young man who's aspiring to build his life. To Serene's point, yes, that's right. Because in order for Yaakov to be the father of the Jewish people, Yaakov has to figure out how to combine the two, how to remain spiritually driven and be practically successful. So what does she do? She doesn't tell him, go hide in the cave until we get rid of Esav, until he calms down, which she could have done. That would have been much simpler. Now she tells him, I'm going to put everything you have at risk. Now that you got the Beracha for the practical stuff, I'm going to take you and I'm going to throw you into the most difficult conditions. Why? Because Lavan is unquestionably a dishonest person. And he's my brother. Nightmare. It's a nightmare, right? So she's trapping him in the most difficult circumstances, right? Why?
To grow.
To grow. Exactly.
Just to grow.
Now,
That's what you want to do.
very
Be
good. Now,
independent.
let's see what we got here. Now, she sends Yaakov away. I don't think it had anything to do with being afraid of Esav. Zero. She uses that as a pretext to send him away, right? He goes away. He goes to the school of the hardest knocks. And what happens, interestingly, with that is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu lists every crummy detail of his experience with Laban. Who cares about his business dealings with Laban? Yeah.
So when you go through the struggles, when you get stronger and when you get smarter and when you figure things out, is not when you're just sitting comfortable.
Fantastic,
Going
Celeste.
through the
And
struggles.
that's what Rivka got, because that was Abraham. Didn't Abraham go through it
He had
all?
somebody this far.
Didn't he experience it all? 10 tests?
Yeah.
Really more? Didn't he go through the school of the hardest knocks?
Not one person doing it.
Huh?
Hashem was doing it. Hashem was throwing him tests.
Okay, good. But wasn't he engaged in didn't he fight a war? Didn't he this? Didn't he that? He was out there.
This is the human struggle.
That's right. Very good. This is human struggle. Yes.
To your point that, that it's not connected, that he went to Lavan as a result of Esav wanting to kill him. I heard something like that it's the Pasha and then it says he went to Lavan, meaning to show that it's not connected, that Esav wanted to kill him.
Right.
And Pasha starts, and then he went. So don't think that it was as a result. It's a new Pasha.
Beautiful. No parasha. Very good. But it's not completely separate because it's Vayetze, right? It's Vayetze. So we have the Bava Chibur. We have a connecting Vav, right? It's not completely standalone, but excellent. Now, let's see. Now, was Yitzchak duped? Yes or no?
Was
No.
he what?
Was he duped?
No.
So he saw that his son was able to be in the physical world by getting the food, and he thought only Esav could be that physical person.
Very nice. So let's see. Beautiful. What does he tell him? He says, look at Pasuk 33, V'yitzchak, v'yachirad Yitzchak charada gedola ad ma'od. The beginning, he's shaken. He shakes. He's shaking to his core, we'd say in present day English, right? He's trembling, right? Why?
Because he realized that
He
his
real-
wife was right.
That's right. Excellent.
He
Beautiful.
realized, wow, look at this whole, it was an epiphany.
Great,
But he
great,
was
great.
trembling
Now,
because it So showed that, wife knew better.
of course it does. It always ends up there. Okay. Let's skip ahead a little bit. Vayikra Yitzchak, go to page 142, 143. The first pasuk. Vayikra Yitzchak el Yaakov. Vayivarech oto. Right? Is Yitzchak 142, 143. Is Yitzchak angry at his son for duping him? Doesn't seem like that. Vayikra Yitzchak el Yaakov vayivarech oto. Vayitzabehu. Vayomer lo lo tikach isha bibno Kna'an. He's finding a context for him to leave, right? Kum lech padena aram. When we see the word kum, what does it mean?
Change your like direction.
Excellent. Let's take a step up By doing so, you will define your life and destiny. You will have a major impact on the Jewish people and way beyond. Remember, whenever we see the term kam, kum, vayakum, it means that somebody is taking a step up in his or her life that will have a profound impact on the Jewish people and beyond. You don't need the word kam here. It's totally extra. You could have simply said, Dech paden aram. Go. The word kum is extra. It's meant to shout this point. Take away from there. Now what does he tell him? El Shaddai yivarech otcha v'yafrecha v'yirbecha v'ayita l'kal amim v'yiten lecha et birkat Abraham. God is going to bless you and give you all the great blessings. And you know what, Yaakov, not only am I not mad at you, I'm affirming and reaffirming to you that you're getting the big beracha. You're getting the beracha from Abraham. Is going to come to you directly from Hashem. So to say that Yitzchak was angry, clearly he's not angry. To say by Haret Harada Gedola that he was shaken to his core, yeah, we can certainly say that. Why? Because he was off on his logic. And Rivka got it. And then we see that more verses are said about Yaakov than all the other avot, the patriarchs and matriarchs, put together. Why? Because he's providing our roadmap. Yaakov provides our roadmap, right? So not only isn't Yitzchak angry, Yitzchak affirms to him that he's going to get the blessing of Abraham, and he even references the blessing. Yeah.
For the birthright from Esau, it wasn't to get the blessing that Yaakov gave him, that Yitzchak gave him just now, it's to get the blessing from Hashem.
So very nice, great. It's a great question. What does it mean to buy the firstborn rights? It's very important because it means to buy the firstborn obligations as well. So when the firstborn, what is the firstborn? If the father doesn't designate in his inheritance, right, a specific amount per child, the firstborn automatically gets double, right? Why? Because it's the obligation of the firstborn to take care of everybody else. So when Yaakov Avinu steps up to take the Bechorah, he says, I want it. I want to be the builder. I want to be the father of the nation. I want to be the one who creates the next generation. Esau says, I don't. Who wants that responsibility? You want to be able to have to teach your children, take responsibility for their actions. You want to have to think about a legacy 5, 6, 10, 100 generations out. I don't need that. I'm saying, in other words, you did a piece on yourself, right? We don't paint them as an absolute this or that. Don't do that. Serena taught a fantastic class on Esav, where she gave a much more comprehensive perspective. We don't. Esav was, Esav was not the bad guy. He was not a black and white anything. He wasn't. Okay, he was Yitzchak and Rivka's son, and they call him their son, right? Good. So when Yaakov steps up, now you have halachic questions there, right? Which is different conversation, but the halachic question is they can't buy something that's not yet in the world. It's a halachic thing. You can't buy a nolad. You can't buy davar shelo ba le'olam, right? You can't buy something that hasn't been born yet. And halachically, you can't own something that doesn't exist. So what was he buying?
Future.
He's buying the future. Okay, so that makes it a little more complicated, a little more interesting, because in fact, on a practical level, there was nothing there in terms of expressing the firstborn rights or privileges. There wasn't anything yet.
Saying they had no money.
It would only happen after dad and mom pass on. So because there was nothing there yet, there's a second layer question on what he was really buying. But for our purposes today, what he was buying was the rights and the obligations. And then the rights and the obligations that he was buying are an exact precursor or in a segue to this exact moment. Because he wants the mantle, he sees the vision of his grandpa, Abraham, he sees the vision, he wants it, he's willing to sacrifice for it, He says, I'll take the responsibility. No problem. Give it to me. Give it to me. You don't want it? Here, honey. I'll pay you for it. What is he buying? He's buying massive responsibility. He's buying the responsibility to further and to build them from a family to a nation. And by the way, Yaakov pays a huge price. He has a very difficult life, right? He pays a huge price for this. But he is our father and he makes it. Now, if you look at next week's parasha, we'll just touch on it for a minute. Next week's parasha, right? Let's go to it a minute. Turn to the next page. 144.
You
Yeah.
see that it says here that Isaac sent away Yaakov. So you see in this language that they became on the same page. That they were together in it, that it wasn't just
Very
what
nice.
she knew and he didn't know. This is a very beautiful.
Very nice. Very nice. Next, go look at the next page real quick. Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheba, vayelech Harana. Okay, there's a lot to talk about here. Now look what happens. A few verses down. V'hinei, go to verse 13. V'hinei Adonai niksav alav. What is v'hinei? Out of order, miraculous, right?
Intervenes.
God is towering over him, right? So I'm God, the God of Abraham and of Isaac, grandpa, your father. This land that you're lying on, I'm going to give you and your children. What does this sound like? This is the Beracha of Abraham Avinu. He's getting it right now when he immediately leaves. It's remarkable. Your children will be like the dust of the earth, innumerable. And he gives them the same exact beracha.
Except
right?
that this is the dust of the earth, and the first one he said the stars of the
He said
sky.
both. Very nice.
So
He
the
said
little,
both. He said both. He said the
red
both.
rather the stars
He
of
says
the
actually
sky.
both. He says the dust of the earth and the stars.
Yeah.
He says the dust of the earth first, in
No,
fact.
I didn't realize.
Yeah. So what do we see here? Clearly, Yaakov was the one. He took the mantle, he wanted the mantle, and he moves with it. Now, we've said this before. I'm going to make the point very, very quickly because we've learned this together, a few of us, that the greatness of Yaakov Avinu was to meet fire with fire, to meet evil with evil, and not become evil. Okay, that's Yaakov Avinu. That's the Jewish people, and just in present day terms, Israel. This conflict, we are not yet there. We do not yet understand this. We are not yet a halachic army. We are not, unfortunately, yet a halachic army. Because if we were, the heavy hand that has been given to these Arabs, to these Hamas people, would be much, much worse. And you're going to see an outcry in Israel. Unfortunately, there's going to be another backlash. There's going to be another backlash as a result of the hostage deal. There's going to be a backlash because the more religious people are going to say this is a catastrophic failure. And they're 100% right. Not 99. If the IDF was successful, as they should have been, 45, 47 days later, there would never be anything like this happening. It's the result of restraint. It's the result of listening to pressure from who knows who.
So what should they have done?
What they should have done is go in stronger, harder, and fight to get the hostages back. When you when you give three, you put hundreds of murderers back on the street. How many times are we going to do this? By the way, it is not a halachic value. Okay? We're not there yet. We're still growing. We're still becoming. We're not the Jewish people we must be. Unfortunately, the upshot of that is a lot of pain and tragedy. But what Yaakov does is he fights fire with fire. He takes no prisoners. That's what you have to do. So the way to greet the world is on its terms. On its terms. You're going to come in and massacre babies and children? What are you talking about? I'm going to put 300 of your animals back on the street. The religious people are going crazy. And they should. They're right. They're right.
Are they going crazy?
They're going crazy.
Oh, I
The
know.
Gilad Shalit deal, when they put 1,000 of these animals and murderers back on the street, you know how many people were killed by these people? This is not the Torah model. It feels good. It feels good because we're looking at this minute. And nobody wants to see a baby taken hostage. Of course not. But the restraint that we show is an anti-Torah restraint. It's absolutely anti-Torah. What Yaakov Avinu did is he met fire with fire. Lavan is a conniving crook. So what did he do? He met him on his terms. Did he become like him? Of course not.
What should they do?
I don't know. I don't know what they should do now. I don't know. But I'll tell you, when the day comes, there will be a day, and that'll be the day when we're much, much closer to Mashiach. But there will be a day when we understand who Yaakov Avinu was and is. You know, what is the topping off of Yaakov Avinu when he we'll just wrap up with this, when he struggles with the angel, so to speak, of Esav. In the end, what does that angel tell him? It says, Kisarita im Elokim ba'anashim ba'tuchal. What does that mean, Mazal?
That you grappled with God and with man, and you overcame.
And you overcame. That's Yaakov. That's Yaakov. Yaakov is not surrender, subservient, deals, compromises. That is not the model. Now we have a Torah. Huh? What?
It's very important to understand that.
Say again.
That when he grappled with the Malach of Esav, he was injured in by his loins.
Right. Yeah.
So it's going to, like you said, going to come at a cost.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That's true.
So it is not like he's going to have scars.
Yes, you're right. That's true. So the upshot is, in terms of the war, let's keep praying and with all our hearts and doing more mitzvot and doing seriously important growth-oriented things to bring the Yeshua that we need so desperately. And let's not criticize each other. I didn't mean this as a criticism of anybody, but I want you to understand the Yaakov model. This is not who we are. It is not. You do not meet terrorists with ceasefires. That is against halacha, black and white. So when they say the extremist, Otzma Yehudit, these extremists who happen to have kippot on their heads are crazy and screaming out against the deal, know as Torah observant people that they're 100% right. And that makes the tragedy worse, unfortunately. It makes it worse. You look at the list of some of the terrorists that went out to free Gilad Shalit, 1,000+ terrorists. You know how many Jews were killed by these animals? How many people were killed? Some of the leaders of Hamas who created the thing, who were sitting in Bahrain with billions of dollars ordering this thing, they were freed. Does that make any sense? No. Therefore, everything is contextual, by the way. There's never a parasha that's not talking about this many. Never, right? So, for our purposes today, I don't want to end on this kind of note, even though we're all in a lot of pain by everything that's going on now. Let's end on a beautiful Torah note. We understand Rivka and Abraham like this. Always put them together in your minds. Study them almost as one person. One ventured from his land alone. She ventured from her land alone to build a new life, Rivka has an extraordinary level of prophecy. She has an extraordinary level of clarity. She's a heroine. She's a giant. Did Yitzchak know that he was duped? He probably knew a minute later. And he recognized immediately how she understood it and how extremely earth-shattering it was. And was Yaakov ever not going to get the Beracha? He was always going to get the ultimate Beracha, always. And it was just a secondary Beracha to tool us, to give us the tools to deal with the world on its terms and still have our heart and our minds and our souls in the book. So that's what we got.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, told me about that.
Thank
My
you.
yoga class.
Oh, nice. Thank you guys on Zoom.